Orlando lost her life that day. Jane?
Harris, thanks.
Sure.
Fox News alert. We're going to take you live to California. Check out that car there on the right. I believe that's the suspect vehicle being chased by police. You can see it's already dragging something behind it, whether that's a piece of bumper or tail light. They may have already tried the pit maneuver to bring this thing to a stop, and maybe it was unsuccessful. At any rate, this is a burglary suspect on the I-91 freeway, as we understand it, in the North Long Beach area. Let's listen in for just a moment. It sounds like our friends in the chopper are talking about this this pursuit.
If comes off, it's going to be a hazard. So weaving on the right shoulder there, in and out. This is a heavily commuted freeway with big rig traffic coming out of the harbor area here. And right up here ahead, about a mile or so up, right at the 105, that's where traffic literally stops here. The merge with the 710 and the 105 freeway. Coming up through Compton now, guys. This pursuit we picked up on the westbound 91 at the 605. It started in Orange County. Again, this is a burglary suspect. A couple of squad cars trailing this man. And, you know, if there's a situation, a time where they can, you know, try that pit maneuver or try to disable this guy even more, they're going to do it. But he's definitely a hazard to other motorists on the road right now.
This is happening live right now, Southern California, the North Long Beach area. This suspect apparently is taking a ramp, maybe.
He's making another transition here. It looks like he's making a transition now to the westbound 105 freeway, which isn't much better in terms of congestion. Coming through Southgate and the Compton area. This is one of the big flyaway transition roads here. Down below, I count 3 squad cars trailing this guy, and we have an LA County Sheriff's helicopter circling underneath us over this pursuit.
A very dangerous pursuit underway. This guy driving like mad, as you can see, dragging what looks like the rear bumper of the car.
He was involved in, if he hit another car, perhaps something off the side of the road, a guardrail, a center divider. That information is not known. All we know, this is a burglary suspect. This pursuit started perhaps about 25 minutes or so ago in Orange County. Traveling at a high rate of speed despite the congestion. Here it is, westbound 105 freeway at Long Beach Boulevard. Why do they run? Because they want to get away and they're delaying the inevitable. You know, most of the time these guys get caught. 99.9% of the time they get caught.
As you can see, this one has the potential to end in a pretty violent collision. This driver being pursued for burglary. Well, there he hit the water and then hit the wall, but just keeps on going. Hard to tell what kind of car we're looking at here, but it's already been pretty badly damaged. You can see the police are in pursuit. They don't like to get this close if they can avoid it, because they don't want to be accused of causing the mayhem that can sometimes ensue. But as you can see, this guy is just bent to drive as fast as he can in that very thick traffic. It's a little before a little before 9 in the morning on the Pacific Coast. Rush hour still very much underway there. And this guy is just going to do everything he can to elude the authorities behind him, dragging part of what appears to be the rear bumper. He's already hit the wall a couple of times. You can see that bumper flapping back and forth as it hits other cars as he passes them. Last we understood, he was on the westbound 105 freeway in the Long Beach, California area. Started in Orange County. He's been hitting speeds up close to 100 miles an hour. But this is a very, very dangerous chase underway right now. Harris Faulkner is joining us from the breaking news desk. She has a little bit more information for us. Harris?
Yeah, you know, as I'm watching this with you, something that's worth pointing out, and one of the reasons why you've seen the police cars just suddenly fall back a little bit, he's actually not in a lane. It looks like he's in the HOV lane, the commuter lane, but he's not. Now they're catching back up with him. The problem for that is that there is construction and stuff along some of those lanes that are not really designated for driving. And so, you know, if he creeps up on something, they don't want to get too close to him. But he's technically not in a lane right now, and that makes pursuing him very, very complicated. Because anything could be in front of you, because it's just simply not designated to be driven in. John?
Yeah, he's in the breakdown lane, apparently, moving in and out of the breakdown lane, but as on any freeway, those things are often filled with rocks and bits of debris.
Absolutely.
All kinds of junk. There
Construction, mainly.
Yeah, there could be a hubcap, a piece of a wheel. You never know. He does not have a lot of room to run. You can see he's slowing down, maybe just...
All of the traffic is slowing down.
Right. Very slow there, very tight going. And the pursuers are still going to keep up the pressure, cutting across several lanes of traffic there. Looks like he's lost. He finally dropped that piece of bumper that was flapping back and forth. It probably just eventually snapped off. You can see the black and white coming up behind him there. They would like to corral him with that pit maneuver if they could. That's where they get behind the car, nudge the rear quarter panel, and then yank the wheel of the squad car. That tends to spin the car around. But in this case, there is simply too much other traffic around to be able to do that. They don't want to do that when other cars would potentially run into this one, and that's what could happen.
And John, Rick Robinson, who's often with us, former state trooper in West Virginia, is on the phone with us too. Rick, are you watching?
Hey, Jane, how are you? I sure am. You guys are hitting the nail on the head. This is a dangerous one. You've got some guys trying to get away on a felony, a burglary. Of course, burglary is when somebody's breaking into a home. And so this is not, I'm just almost as confident as I can be, this is not going to end well.
That's one of the things I wanted to say. He is driving as dangerously. I mean, some of these pursuit suspects seem to be able to handle their vehicles. This guy does not seem to be doing a great job.
John, he's all over the road. And you hit the nail on the head a few minutes ago when you mentioned about how the police try not to sit right on somebody's bumper, because the defense attorneys, we've talked about this so many times, they'll always claim that we were pushing them forward, they were afraid to stop, and so they didn't. They just kept on going. They didn't know what else to do, and it was entirely our fault.
And just give it to us from the perspective of somebody who's been involved in one of these pursuits. I can imagine that the adrenaline in those officers is flowing right now, and it must be so hard to hold back.
John, I taught in the West Virginia State Police Academy almost my entire career. I was in the state police for about 21 years, and I teach in college now. And one of the things I say to troopers and to students is it's not personal. And it's easy to say that, but having been in those pursuits, God knows how many times, I know it's not personal, but, man, your adrenaline is just going insane. And so that's why when you can do a textbook pursuit, you've got the first vehicle behind the offender. That's probably the person who first noticed the violation. Then the second or third vehicle will be a supervisor who really has no involvement other than they don't want to see their officers get hurt. And that person, that supervisor, is supposed to be looking the entire incident over, trying to decide whether they should continue the pursuit, trying to make sure that officer in the first unit isn't getting kind of personally involved, isn't letting their adrenaline get away from them. But I've stood in front of people, I don't know how many times, and said that, and then turned right around and been in a pursuit and felt that adrenaline and felt that I got to get them type thing going through my head. A big problem in a lot of jurisdictions, thank God not in California, we're in a difficult position, and that is if we pull over the side of the road and just let the person drive away, thinking, of course, they'll slow down, and then they wreck, maybe drive through a school zone or something, and all hell breaks loose, then we can end up being sued. If we continue the pursuit and something terrible happens, then we can be sued. So more and more states around the United States, just like California, are saying, you know what, these guys are the ones that need to make the decision. If they decide to stop or they decide to continue, as long as their actions don't shock the conscience, that's really the threshold.
We should point out, too, that the crew and this chopper from KTTV is doing an incredible job of following this guy through those underpasses and overpasses. That is not an easy thing to do when you're in the air, as are the cruisers who are right on his tail. So, Rick, I know it's hard because you're not at a command post here, so you don't have all the information. But as you're watching this, what do you expect is happening further down this road?
Well, I know in California they're real good about this because they have so many pursuits, and they so often have helicopters as opposed to other areas of the country where you don't have the manpower, you don't have the overhead, either fixed wing or helicopters to watch it and get a good handle on it. But what I'm confident, are doing are placing units calling way ahead. Everybody up and down that interstate knows this is going on. And so they're placing units off the interstates. They're trying to minimize the amount of traffic getting on the interstate, but my gosh, it's morning rush hour there.
Yeah, it's just
so they're already on the interstate. This guy's driving on the median. You know, a little while ago, he was driving on the berm. And I'll tell you what, Jane, what was going through my head, because I've been in that precise position when the guy was on the berm, the other side, where you're afraid that somebody's going to be a cowboy, and they're going to decide, they see this car coming, and they know what's going on, or they think they know what's going on, and they'll edge over into the berm thinking somehow or other they'll get the car to stop. Then all of a sudden you've got those folks involved in an accident.
Yeah.
And you get hit in the rear. You're talking about that pit maneuver a few minutes ago. If you don't do it just right, you, the officer, are going to end up going out of control and getting hurt.
Rick, hold on with us 1 second, if you will.
You bet.
Well, we're going to continue to watch this, and Rick, stay on the phone with us if you would. Trace Gallagher knows the streets of Southern California well, and he is joining us for this coverage. Trace?
And John, Rick makes some very good points there, because this car apparently now is in Hawthorne. Anybody who knows Southern California knows that Hawthorne is kind of down in the Torrance area. We're kind of unclear on what direction he's heading in, but clearly at a high rate of speed. The helicopter pilot was just talking about this is not a good time to make that famous pit maneuver that we have talked about so much. Harris was kind of alluding earlier about the fact that local police are involved in this, and you've got two divergent philosophies when you've got local police involved versus the Highway Patrol being involved in this, because the California Highway Patrol would be much more aggressive. Local police departments don't have as much money, therefore they don't take as many risks because of lawsuits. So what happens here is you've got local police, but you may have the Highway Patrol falling in line behind the local police departments there. The CHP's pursuit process is pretty much depending on how much risk this driver poses to those around him. You see him move out of the back. That's how aggressively they pursue these guys. We said the 105 freeway earlier. Harris, is that still the 105, or do we know? Because it seems to me that it's kind of moving up in a different direction now.
It is actually still the 105. I did want to say this. If we can ask actually the state trooper, former state trooper Robinson, Trace, because I think this might be a good question too. You notice how the other drivers, and you've driven a lot in LA, so have I, they seem to be slowing down. They're giving cops actually some help.
Well, they always
out there,
do.
because they're used to seeing this sort of thing out there. They always have good weather when this goes on, you know, so people can see him coming. And as we saw just a couple moments ago, people were getting over to the right and actually slowing down and being a hindrance for him. Yeah. He couldn't quite maneuver around. But yes, this is still, they were just crossing the 110 freeway.
Okay.
And I don't know if that helps you tell you where he is, but now he's back in that lane that nobody's really supposed to be driving in.
Yeah, guys, hold on a second, because Casey Stiegel with our LA Bureau is with us. Casey, what's the location here?
Yeah, just as you said, crossing the 101 freeway. This is a major freeway, and you have to remember it is only 9 o'clock in the morning out here in California, so a lot of people are packed. A lot of people are out on the roadways heading into work. So that is one of the reasons why this might be, in fact, difficult to stop, because there is a tremendous amount of traffic as the morning commute is underway. But they are heading westbound almost to the 405, so kind of getting right around the Los Angeles area, because we understand that this originated in Orange County this morning. We have a number of people on the telephone here in our Los Angeles Bureau trying to get information in terms of what this person may be running from. We do know, confirmed to Fox News by police, that this is in fact a robbery suspect of some sort, and they're now getting off the freeway. I don't actually have a feed here in the studio. We're working on trying to get this together, as it is obviously a fluid situation that we're monitoring. But I understand that the vehicle is now getting off of the freeway onto Sepulveda Boulevard, which is a major intersection. It is a major thoroughfare in the Los Angeles area that goes right into Los Angeles International Airport, of course, one of the busiest airports in the country. And at this time of morning, lots of people making their way in and out to try to get to flights and whatnot.
Hey guys, I'm going to put you all on pause for a second, because we want to listen to what the chopper pilot is saying. So let's take a listen.
Now, because of so much congestion.
Where the runways cross. No, that's not empty. He's still under the tunnel, guys. So we don't know what's happened down there. We'll wait and see if something comes out. Yeah, definitely at the speed he was traveling. Although he didn't have the option. You know, there isn't a center divider in there. It's a very tight area underneath runways 25 left and 25 right here at LAX. Now we're right over the LAX complex.
You know, it's interesting. That was very
All right,
smart of him to do that. He's out of the purview of the helicopter cameras right now. This is Sepulveda Boulevard, and Trace, this is right near the airport. If he wanted to try to make a getaway, that's how you do it.
Well, if you're trying to make a getaway on foot, you don't want to try and do it inside the tunnel. And it appears that this white Ford Taurus that police have been pursuing for, the better part of an hour, this white Ford Taurus has come to a stop of some kind in that tunnel underneath the runways at LAX. I was going to ask Rick Robinson, our former West Virginia trooper who is with us on the phone, what is the psychology of these guys? You must have studied them. I mean, they know the choppers are in the air. They've seen how these things end. Why do they keep these things going?
They believe they're going to get away. They believe that somehow or other they'll find an avenue, they'll find something like this where they're underneath the runway, that they're going to somehow or other slip away. They're going to get into a crowd. They'll get into a mall. They'll go up some road someplace. They just think they'll get away. Now, occasionally, you and I have been on a couple of times where people were parading and waving at the cameras and that sort of thing. Now, that's not what I'm talking about. But a guy like this and the way he's been driving, he genuinely thought he could do it. And he may. I mean, we don't know yet.
You have to think that something has happened in that tunnel just based on the way that the traffic is starting to stack up behind it.
Yeah.
Whether he simply pulled over and gave up, whether he smashed into another vehicle, whether he smashed into a pillar or the wall, who knows?
My gut feeling is he's not just given up under there. I don't think he pulled under there to do that. I think he pulled under there, and if he hasn't, certainly, I don't see how he could have flipped around. I think we would have seen it. There's a concrete barrier there that we can see.
Yeah.
So if that runs all the way through, it probably does. He chose this particular place. So we've got, it looks like, is that a city police officer now?
Yeah.
We got in a shot.
We got a motorcycle officer who is blocking the exit end of this tunnel. And again, we call it a tunnel. It's really just under the runways, and they are wide expanses of concrete at LAX.
You know, we're talking about whether we've got a burglary suspect, burglary that's breaking into a residence, or a robbery suspect that's taking from the person, like sticking a gun in somebody's face and say, "Give me your money." This is a violent person.
Yeah.
This is somebody that is incredible. Well, the way that officer just walked in there.
Yeah,
I'm kind of thinking maybe it might be over.
It sure seems like it, because he just kind of sauntered off his motorcycle and he's heading back into the direction of this car. We don't know what happened to the car.
Got the cruiser stopping him from going the opposite direction as well. So I'm guessing they've got a crime scene in there now, but what exactly occurred? Wow, who knows?
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that they've blocked traffic there, and just as you said, Rick, the pace at which he was kind of sauntering in there makes it seem like the urgency is gone. This is a challenge for a chopper pilot, is it not, to have the conclusion all happen underneath those taxiways and runways?
And you're right on top of very busy airspace at LAX.
Exactly. Let's take a listen to what the chopper pilot is saying, if we can.
But southbound traffic is moving now. We have the one CHP motor officer parked there on the northbound side. The traffic is definitely stopped on northbound Sepulveda here.
Somehow, underneath the runways at Los Angeles International Airport, this chase has come to an end. A chase that started, I think, around 8:30 Los Angeles time. A burglary suspect, we are told, was in pursuit, or Anaheim police were in pursuit of this burglary suspect, and he led them on a wild one that has somehow come to an end in the darkness of that tunnel under the runways at Los Angeles International Airport. You can see the motorcycle trooper back on his bike now, just moved the bike out of the way.
Up against the right shoulder wall there. The car crashed, that white Taurus crashed just before it came out of the tunnel.
Oh, yeah, you can
Whether
see
or not any other cars are involved in that crash, it's hard to tell at this point. Injuries, obviously, we don't know. And we still don't know if that suspect is in custody at this point.
You can see the
Difficult
car
for us to see.
in the shadows there, just underneath the egress of that tunnel at LAX.
You know, John and Jane, it's interesting because if the thinking was that he would have done this on purpose to try to get away, what may have happened was just simply an accident underneath this tunnel, completely unplanned. Whether or not he got out, as you heard our chopper reporter Rick Dickert saying, there could be injuries involved. He may not have gotten out of there and very well could still be in that vehicle.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, they tend not to wear their safety belts when they are trying to elude police.
Hot
think about it too. Think about it too, Harris. You know, you're in the bright Southern California sunshine. All of a sudden, you're in the near darkness of a tunnel.
It's a very good point.
Would have been difficult for his eyes to adjust. There may have been something in the road. He may have been trying to make a maneuver. Who knows what has happened?
Or around another car, for all we know. I mean, the only visibility you have in there is per the lights that are on all those vehicles. So, yeah, it would have been considerably darker than where he was driving previously.
Let's just hope that there aren't any innocents involved here.
Casey Stiegel's in our LA bureau. Casey, what have you been able to ascertain from there?
Well, we're trying to find out, Jane, whether or not there is, in fact, a suspect in custody. We're obviously watching the same live pictures coming from our local Fox affiliate KTTV here in Southern California. But now you have to figure out that this could be affecting traffic at Los Angeles International Airport, because that tunnel that car is crashed in is right below active taxiways. Obviously, a number of flights take off and land this time of morning at LAX. And so you have to wonder, with now a vehicle crashed under there and a lot of police activity, they've got to sweep that car. We know that this is in fact a potential robbery suspect, a bank robber suspect of some sort, but you know, you cannot take any extra precautions here if there would be explosives of any sort in that vehicle and it's under a direct taxiway. So you can imagine that LAX authorities are now closing that portion off so planes cannot go over that tunnel. But now you start to see other traffic making its way through there. So this is not only causing a lot of problems for drivers on the road, but this now could in fact be holding up some flights as they try to get in and out of this busy airport at just after 9 o'clock in the morning out here Los Angeles time, guys.
Yeah, I have to think now, Casey, that the fact that they are letting automobile traffic through this tunnel is a pretty good sign that this thing is over.
It's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, I don't see any, you know, tarps or anything else that would indicate that there may be a fatality here. But again, it's difficult to see inside that tunnel. Maybe he just crashed the car. Let's hope it was a single car accident, and let's hope that they have this suspect, whoever he or she might be. Let's hope that they have that person in custody.
Yeah, said to all have started as a burglary in Orange County, and looks like it has come to a conclusion there under the taxiways and runways at Los Angeles International Airport. We're going to continue to watch it and listen in and let you know as soon as we get more information.
Just to avoid this, if it does take some time to clear.
A Fox News alert, and take a look at the aftermath of this high-speed chase that we are watching through much of the hour. This began in Anaheim, California. We understand it was a burglary suspect who was being pursued by police, and this person, this guy, I assume, was driving incredibly dangerously, hitting speeds near 100 miles an hour on some of the freeways in Southern California during rush hour, just before 9 a.m. It's about 9:18 there now. And this thing has come to an end in one of the tunnels under the runways or taxiways at Los Angeles International Airport. Our Fox affiliate KTTV is reporting that the suspect has been cornered. We can barely see his car there in the right upper left-hand part of the screen, sort of spun around and pinned up against the walls of the tunnel. We understand the suspect is in custody. We don't know anything more about who that person is or what condition they're in. When we get that information, we'll bring it to you live here on Fox.
I want to get to some other news now. Two senior officials in Afghan intelligence are saying that a former Gitmo detainee is now a Taliban commander.